Welcome everybody, I'm Deborah Westbrook. Today is Tuesday, February 12th, 2025, and we're going to talk about controlled perception today. I've thought about this for a long time, and this all stemmed from a previous video I did called The Psyop of Religion, which came from a video I saw by this guy Chase Hughes. And when he was talking about a psyop, I realized everything that he talked about could be to the control of religion. Well, one of the things he said, which fascinated me, and I kept seeing the pattern, was that when you focus on a picture, it's the frame that forms the context of the picture, but so often we don't focus on the frame. We're being pulled into the picture, not noticing that the frame or what's surrounding the picture is actually dictating the narrative of the picture. So stay with me, and at the end I'll post the Psyop of Religion video, and you may want to watch that too. So let's get started. What's controlled perception? Controlled perception is when you perceive with your natural vision is being controlled within a set narrative to disempower your humanity in connecting within your divinity. That's my whole focus, that I'm going to tell people over and over that they're brilliant, and don't fall for a narrative that has you relinquish your innate intuition, the ability to flow in psychic powers of different variations to connect with a higher self or with God. This is not all there is. And in this low energy environment, so many people are being pulled into a controlled perception, which then forms their beliefs, which then forms their actions, which then controls their life, and they can't break out of it. Another thing about a controlled perception, let me give you an example. Now, stay with me. This is not going to be political. I personally believe that we're in a nation that has a uniparty. I do not believe that either party has your best interests at heart, no matter what they say. This is my personal belief. So let me give you an example of controlled perception. When the Orange Man did his inauguration, he created a picture that this was now the golden age of America, that he was the savior of the empire, that he was the savior of the planet. But yet, what was framing that picture as people were pulled into that picture? Where were the normal people? Where were the working people in this nation? To the right of him were all the tech billionaires. Do you think that they have any interest in you whatsoever, being valued at a net worth of $450 billion or more? That was framing the picture of the golden age, which we will soon see. To the left of him sat Christian Zionists, and also an entanglement with the Abrahamic religion in a certain part of the world that actually controls this government. So the picture being framed was you were to buy into all this savior complex. So another thing, if you look at the picture of religion, it dictates your life here on the planet. It helps you to focus on a set narrative of duality, and it eventually controls your actions, which I was controlled by, to where I took it to the streets to tell people that unless they believed what I believed, they were going to hell. Yes, that was years ago, but I bought into the narrative. This narrative of duality creates a picture that never has you work on your intuition or your self-empowerment. It's always looking outside yourself, and the frame is control. John Lamb Lash, in his book, Not in His Image, shows how the Abrahamic religions were actually a control mechanism on the planet. Believe it or not, it's irrelevant to me. This is my channel. I'm going to tell you I have nothing to prove and absolutely nothing to lose. So both religion, technology, government, and so much more is creating a picture. So what's your focus? You have to look past the picture and truly see the frame. And then what you need to do is create your own picture in your life outside of the narratives, and then frame it within your divinity, which will show you how to live life here on this planet while you are in time for such a time as this. And we'll be talking about that more in the future. But let's talk right now about the picture and the frame. Are you with me? Leave the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. When a picture is created, when an artist creates a picture, I've been to Rome many times, and the beauty of the pictures are always resident within the beauty of the frame. The frame sets the context for the picture. It's not to be ignored or denied, but the picture directs our attention and it leads viewers' sight into the image, so more attention is directed to the image than the frame. Hence the examples that I used when I started this video. You so intent on looking for the Savior in the picture, because that is what we've been created in this nation to look to, something outside of ourselves, and now it's time to forego that and to look within. So also the frame around the picture adds context to the image. The frame adds beauty to the image. So it's portrayed, like Elon Musk he's the savior of the world and he's going to come in and walk alongside. Now, I'm not denying that some of the things they may be doing are beneficial, but that's what's framing the picture. First of all, what's in the picture is that they're going to create a golden age of this nation. It ain't going to happen, folks. So they're trying to convince you that everything that's creating the picture and what is in the frame is going to create this wonderful reality that you're going to live in, and all your problems are gone. But the frame adds context to the picture, and what they're hiding is that most of those tech people are transhumanists that want to integrate your biology within AI or within technology through nanobots in the blood, through neural links in the brain. And if you don't think I'm right, then read Pure Human by Greg Braden, and he will prove it to you as a scientist and a geologist. I'm reading it now. So they have a goal in mind, and they're projecting it as this beautiful picture that's going to save humanity, save the planet. But the picture is false, and so as our direction is focused on the picture, we lose our innate ability to be divine in our humanity and to relinquish all our innovation and creativity to something or someone outside ourselves. And that disgusts me. That truly disgusts me. What does a picture do in a frame? It sets the picture apart from its surroundings. So the frame sets the picture apart from its surrounding. It provides definition to the picture. But most people are so focused on the picture, they're not looking at the frame. I'm going to say that over and over. Have critical thinking. Look at not only the picture, but don't buy into the picture that's created for you in any way, shape, or form. Look to your intuition. What is your heart saying within? So what also this does is it draws the viewer's attention to the main subject by adding depth, context, and narrative. So when we have the picture of religion or a governmental power right now, it's drawing our attention that finally, we came out of 4 years of chaos. No, they're all the same. They're all working toward the same thing. They're all working toward control and the empire state ruling the nation. It's quite obvious. So what it does is when it continually draws the viewer's attention to the picture, it forms a narrative. We saw that clearly. The golden age is the narrative now. But now we're waking up, or at least some are waking up. Are you waking up? What does waking up mean? It doesn't mean woo-woo. It doesn't mean love and light that everything's going to go through. This empire is collapsing. Agree with me or not. Nothing's going to stop its collapse. Now, should that bring you fear? Absolutely not. It should help you to realize that you're on an intuitive journey and to live your life outside the narrative of control. And even though you're having to go through things, do you trust yourself? Are you empowering yourself? Are you intuitively moving day by day within your heart-brain coherence to know what it is you're doing outside the narrative of control, narcissism, and greed? Well, so question. This is where we're leading in this. Those are all facts, believe it or not. So why don't you and I create our own life as a beautiful piece of artwork, as a picture that is framed within the context of our divinity? And divinity means to transcend perceived human limitations. When people live in a 3D realm, like as this is all there is, they're not going to listen to you. Or even religious people that live in a 3D realm trying to get out of here at some point are denying the fact that they're in time for such a time as this. So what happens is we have these perceived limitations. Our bodies are flawed, therefore we need more medications. We don't trust that we are our biology, and to a certain extent, we can live healthy lives outside the realm of what science even says. That's never explored. So our divinity helps us tune into our intuition, which is within our heart, which we'll talk about in the days ahead, that the heart is almost more powerful than the brain, and the heart will speak in times of being still and knowing. I've had it happen in my life over and over and over. So let's talk about certain things about the context of controlled perception. I got these from a website called Psych Central. It's a psychology, but it makes sense. So when you perceive you have control, it improves well-being. And a lack of perceived control fosters fear, depression, and hopelessness. Now, everything now is so entangled in distraction that you're forced to look left and right and up and down. You don't know where anything's coming from. So you hook onto a savior complex that will lead you through the confusion to avoid fear, helplessness. This is control. All the power is within you. The power is within you. So when you realize that you are self-empowered in your humanity, it creates a feeling of well-being. It creates a settled feeling of joy and peace that you have the courage to handle what's ever out there and whether it comes your way, knowing you didn't start here. You're not going to end here. So what else did this website say? We have turned this over. All our control, all our well-being, we've kind of put it over to the side in following a savior, and it has created within us a sense of our flawed humanity. It's happening all the time in the young generation. That's why they're being controlled, and Greg Braden talks about this in his book, that there's no denial that they would readily accept chips in their brain or nanobots in their blood because they're so hooked into AI, which is turning into artificial general intelligence, which is turning into a total control of this planet, believe it or not. So are you willing to be human in a sense of well-being? Because there will come a timeline, which is already here right now, where you will begin to say no to certain things. When you wake up, your vision is increased and your hearing is increased out of this realm to navigate within this realm. So our humanity is not flawed. I'm astounded by some of the things I'm reading in this book, Pure Human, that I will bring forth in the days ahead. Well, when you have feelings of fear, hopelessness, homelessness, poverty, it's a reliance on things outside yourself to save yourself. And that is it's the foundation of everything I believe. I've lived in many places all over the world, but I've never seen a nation that pursues such a savior complex of everything outside themselves. It's astounding to me. So choices determine perception. We're living in a learned helplessness that evolves within us. We have no power. So people are so caught up in their lives that they're being controlled by this perception and they're buying into the plan, or else they don't have time. Both are heading into the same direction of being framed into total control over your humanity. Again, There's no golden age coming. It's a sham. It's a sham. The only golden age that's coming is within you, as you, and through you. And you realize that by being still and knowing. I'm going to take certain thoughts from two speakers. One is Andre Robb. He's a Christian. I haven't listened to him in years, but he was way ahead of his time. And the other is from the book, Greg Braden wrote this book, I Said, Pure Human. And I was in a virtual masterclass with him that was astounding. So now let's rise up and talk about who we are and creating our story. Well, he talks about, Andre Robb, in this video, he talks about the plan versus the story. What do I mean by that? Well, when you're in religion, there's a plan. You have to get saved. You have to walk down the aisle. You have to submit to the plan as opposed to creating your own story. There's a big difference. One is disempowering and one is empowering. Well, let's contrast the two. What's the difference between a set plan and creating your own story, creating your own piece of artwork that is your humanity and coloring it with joy and peace and abundance and love within your divinity, in contrast to the darkness that's in the world today? So a plan has very few surprises. Walk this way. Only one way, walk this way. Whereas a story has many surprises. Why? Because each of us are writing our own story. And together, in an awakening, in a collective consciousness, you can call it Christ consciousness, you can call it the field, however you want to call it, we are remembering why we came here. And we have a purpose. We have a plan for our lives that is not the plan that is relegated by government technology. So in our story, we encounter different plans that may surprise us. Then it's a journey in life. Go this way for a season and then give it up and go another way. Nothing is static that you stay with it your whole life. At least that's what I found out. You have to be willing to change to create an ever-expanding story in your life. Right now, I've moved from the Bay Area. I live on the central coast of California, and I've disliked it so much that I was creating a story of dislike because it was so different from the Bay Area. And yes, everything is different now about the Bay Area. But living here, I had to accept that it was providing, and it is providing, a different manifestation of a story in me, as me, and through me, through my intuition, getting up every day and responding to the heart challenges that are given to me on an intuitive journey. Again, we'll talk about that in the days ahead. What's another contrast between a plan and a story? A plan has limitations, and it controls the future. We've seen that in religion. There's only one way, and then either you're going to go to heaven or you go to hell. Whereas a story has an unfolding, spontaneous life. And again, I want to give credit to Andre Robb by listening to this video that was like 8 to 10 years old, that was so empowering to me because it laid it out so clearly. Are you living with surprises, or are you living with the disempowerment of routine day in and day out? Now, I understand people have to have a job. They have families. They have stress in financial situations right now, in family situations. But in the midst of that, your courage has to rise up so that you tune into your intuition to have an unfolding, spontaneous life that is individual for every one of us. I've lived my life in an intuitive journey, and somehow I forgot that over the past 5 years due to intense grief that came into my life. It got shut down. But now I realize that by listening to my heart, which I'll explain in a minute, I need to go back into this intuitive journey. Now, this had nothing to do with finances. This has nothing to do with the earthly realm except telling you a direction to take that defies common sense. It's coming from a place that is intuitive, that almost seems like people will say to you, "Really? Well, then you have to follow it. Will you make mistakes? Yes. Will you learn how to read your intuition? Yes. But if you never read it, if you never flow in it, you're going to get locked down into a very predictable life. And you're going to buy into this narrative of narcissism, greed, and control. Another thing about a plan versus a story, he said something really interesting. He said, the plan, if you keep following the plan, it turns into a manipulated boredom in which you submit. And suddenly I saw my life. I've been so bored this past year. Why? Because I didn't relinquish my previous journey and enter a new spontaneous journey. I was sticking to the plan that this is what I should do. This is who I should be. And I said, F it. No, that's not me anymore. And that's why I left Facebook and I'm just going to do who I am on YouTube. I have nothing to prove and nothing to lose. So join me in just learning a little bit about yourself. I had manipulated boredom, and it sunk me down to such a low place because I wouldn't give up the plan of religion, the plan of government to save me, the plan of technology to be in the loop of things. I gave it all up. And suddenly I was faced with nothing. No thing, somehow in the void. And I had to look at myself clearly and say, my options are to go back into the plan or to forge a new spontaneous life. I chose the latter instead of the former. So the plan has a manipulated boredom, as opposed to the story being written into your life where all things are possible. Intuitively, it doesn't mean you're going to get anything you want. It doesn't mean you can do anything you want. You want to line up with the energy that resonates within your time here on earth. And you want to know that all things are possible. So tap into the potential of the field through meditation, through being still and knowing, through breath work, through heart-brain coherence exercises. And you will know that all things are possible that are finely suited to you. So we're a co-author within our humanity. We're co-authoring our humanity within our divinity. The co-author, we're placed in time. And so in this realm of my humanity, I'm working out the story with help of my divinity, which is entangled within me, but is within a higher place of intuition. So my divinity is connection in the field. It carries the potential of my story. My humanity in the connection, it walks it out in real time. Let me repeat that. My connection into my divinity is in the field, outside of time. You think you're stuck in time? You think you started here? You're going to end here? Well, then you don't need to listen any further because that's absurd. You didn't start here. You're not going to end here. You're to connect with a higher self. That is called your divinity. It's entangled within you. So that gives you the potential and the possibility in life, but it doesn't stop there. You need the courage to work it out in your humanity, which means taking actions, which will help you to be courageous and brave. And in the process, you're going to lose people, you're going to lose ideas, because in order to get to that point, you're going to go through the void of nothingness in order to come out as a new transition into a new spontaneous journey. Now, I am formed continuously within my story. I am formed continuously within my story. I'm always changing. And so many people have a problem with that. They want to hunker down in that which is concrete, and they want to rely on the substantial matter that they're seeing, whether it flows through a government control. And that's why people label things as conspiracy theories, which are turning out to be true, because people were searching outside the box. Doctors were searching outside the box, and then they got shut down and demonetized and deregulated and basically ostracized for speaking truth. Why? Because the picture created was one that science knows everything, religion knows everything, go this way. And it's being framed by control. And those who broke out to create a new life, it wasn't easy. There's a philosopher that said, I think, therefore I am. Stop and think a while about that. I want to tell you a good story that Andre Reb talked about in this video. He said, when a child is below the age of, say, 7, that's why they control education after a certain age, because they rip you off of all your imagination, innovation, and creativity, and they force you to learn facts so that you get so grounded. You determine a plan for your life rather than the spontaneous child. I think that's why, because there are beautiful truths in the Bible, but not according to how religion interprets them. Jesus is not the Jesus of Western fundamental Christianity. He was a glorious ascended master. And so when he says, I believe he said, enter the kingdom as a child. Well, as a child, you have to constantly reorient yourself to things. Let me give you an example. When a child is confronted with new realities, they have no previous knowledge to process those realities. And he gives the example of children. He passed by a tennis court and he saw children with their parents, and one child got very frustrated because he couldn't hit the ball. So he was confronting a new reality in a new game, and he was so frustrated he threw a tantrum. So what Andre Robb got from that was that children are always reorienting themselves to a new reality, to learn a new skill, to function in a new environment, and education abuses us by ripping us off from all of that. Go back to childhood. Go back to being childlike in your approach to life and reorient yourself to every new reality that comes before you, and learn a new plan. Constantly change it up, forgive, be wise, have grace, have love, move in the power of love, in the resonant energy that is in you as you are light. Here's another thing. Now, let me go to thoughts from Braden from his book, Pure Human. Now, let me share with you something very unique, and hopefully that you'll attempt this. In this masterclass, it was from people who bought the book that was released on January 28th. And it was a smaller masterclass. It was 5 hours, that there was a break every hour. But in one of those hours, he taught us about heart-brain coherence and engaging the heart, which is more powerful than the brain. It has so many more neurons that connect to the field than the brain actually does. That's why there is a need for heart-brain coherence. So he had us do an exercise where you breathe for a certain level of time, then you put your hands on your heart, and you continue to breathe. You have gratitude in your life, and then you ask your heart a question. One of the questions that he has us ask our heart was, what ancestral wounds are you still carrying? So when I asked my heart, I listened, and it was almost like I got flooded with all these words, and flowing intuitively for most of my life, I knew that those were not the answer, and I kind of pushed them to the side. When I was still and quiet, suddenly I heard the word insignificance. And I realized that in our family, the wound, the ancestral wound, was one of insignificance. And then I was able to look back on my whole life and learn that in my humanity, every time I approached a transition, every time I approached a feeling of expansion, that I was finally flowing into who I am, the insignificance that was evident in my father, evident in my sister, and evident in me, suddenly shut me down. So I asked for healing, and I thought about it for several days. So what am I trying to say? When you create your story, when you're not going to avoid looking at the trauma in your life. To flow in the fullness of who you are and your divinity will confront you through your heart of any trauma that you might have. Then you have to believe you're healed. You don't have to prove a point. You don't have to get angry. You have to forgive and you have to let go. And in the process, you have to learn new ways to navigate your life. So that's why after that, Greg Braden, so much, which I'll talk about in the days ahead. After that virtual masterclass, then it was 2 days later, because you see, months ago, I woke up one morning and I heard God's source speak within me to change my audience. And yet I stayed. I stayed on Facebook. Nothing wrong with Facebook if it's for you. It's not for me because it inhibited who I really was by creating algorithms that made me feel insignificant. So I woke up that morning. I simply said on Facebook, I'm done. I'll post my YouTube videos on here, maybe post once a week regarding the video, but I'm done. And I feel so free in now creating a new life that's beyond my insignificance. You know, folks, the one thing I know, I'm a boomer, I'm older, but what I could teach the young generation is simply be who you are. You're somebody. You're the beauty of your divinity and your humanity does not have to be entangled with AI. You're not insignificant. So they're realizing what I heard, the insignificance of my life broke me out of a controlled perception. And then suddenly my vision opened up and I was able to see things I couldn't see before about my own life and about what was happening in the world. And I became disgusted how this planet right now and this nation has the audacity to deny basic human rights to people by promising a golden age that is never going to come. Again, I won't go into detail. Just either trust me on it or do the research for yourself. So some of the things that Braden taught when I was struck by this feeling that insignificance, and then I remembered, why my father always channeled me in a way of lockdown, in love. Don't go into creativity, Deborah. Stay in science and math, which I got a degree in, which I'm now very thankful for. But now I'm using that background in science and math to be creative in my spirituality. So let's end with some of the thoughts that Braden said. The world is a mirror that reflects who I am. And if you're controlled by your perception, your I am is totally denounced and denigrated. I am is the essence of who you are. So if you're following controlled perception, you no longer know who you are. Your I am is the essence of your connection in the field. To show the very essence of then followed by actions. I am is not actions. I am is essence. It's in prime reality that shows you the essence of who you are. The essence of who I am is curious and adventurous. And it is in my insignificance. It wasn't able to be displayed on this planet, but now it will be. So also Braden says, the world presents a picture of distraction and extreme. And that's what we're seeing right now is we're forced to look left and right in every direction. And the frame is a control mechanism of our unique discovery of our divinity. Get out of the way for divinity to flow through you, become divine. So now let's talk a little bit about intuition because you're called to live an intuitive life. One of the things, it's early here, so I know I'm kind of all over the place. What is intuition? We'll talk about that in the days ahead. It's that subtle response of your heart that flows in a way that may not make sense to you, but you know that you know you're supposed to flow in that way. So intuition totally disregards a controlled perception. Intuition has nothing to do with walking away of a controlled perception, because if you have a controlled perception, then you're letting whatever entity dictate your life, and you're living in a lockdown mode of your personality, of your creativity, and that's not where I want to be. Do you want to be there? So intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. But conscious reasoning, it's what's running this planet right now. And if you begin to flow in your intuition, you're considered woo-woo, you're considered, you're locked down, you're tossed to the side, you're labeled conspiracy theorist, however you want to call it. But it's tapping into a deeper place in your heart. It's a connection. You learn to see through the illusion by first acknowledging it. It's a planned narrative to shift the planet into a technocracy. I know today I'm giving a whole lot of different facts, and in the future I'll go deeper into all of these. So you have to begin to notice the pattern. Intuition helps you notice. It's beyond conscious reasoning to where you begin to see the pattern. And it's almost like your vision becomes locked into a moment in time when you're really looking and you see beyond the illusion into the reality. And that's what happened to me when I saw the Orange Man proclaiming the savior of the world, the golden age. But yet I kept looking to his right, and there was Sam Altman, people that were tech billionaires, Elon Musk, and I thought, that's what's framing this picture. But people don't know enough about the control of AI and where technocracy is headed in order to make conscious decisions on this planet in time for such a time as this. And suddenly time stopped, and I saw the illusion of a controlled perception, and I said, no, I'm not going to buy it. From then on, when I saw that pattern, I listened very carefully to our government talk, both now and in the past, and I saw the continual control coming from both sides. And the intuition that was beyond my conscious reasoning broke me into an awareness that I was able to see through things and see the patterns over and over and over. So when you notice patterns, you become aware of your feelings centered in heart intelligence. Your heart developed before the brain in the womb. You have 40,000 sensory neurons that act, remember, feel, and communicate. That's why I heard the words, your ancestral wound is your insignificance. Do you know that one of the things Braden said on this virtual masterclass is that when a baby is born, the DNA of the baby still resides in the mother, and that provides almost a psychic power and intuition to know when your child is in trouble. That is, for instance, if they're in the military, he gave the example of a woman knowing that her son was in danger. Well, have you experienced that? If I've experienced that with my children, I've known when there was something going on. And so the intuition that is developed is beyond conscious reasoning. First of all, you have to forego the plan. You have to be considered foolish. When God spoke within me to go to Finland, simply because I heard the statement years and years ago, to go to Finland, if I had never taken that step, I wouldn't have been 8 years later with almost one step away from a permanent resident visa. But I had to take the first step. It's beyond conscious reasoning, and you may have to look like a fool to move into your intuition. Are you courageous enough to do that? So the other thing that a divine connection within your humanity is not only through intuition, but it's through synchronicities. And synchronicities are meaningful coincidences that seem to have no cause. When I flowed in my intuitive resolve to actually go to Finland, then the synchronicities presented themselves, and then I met people that gave me access to apartments, access to opportunity, because the synchronicities will begin to flow after you move out in an intuitive resolve that seems contrary to common sense. So I'm going to end with this. Carl Jung. This is what he wrote, a whole book on synchronicities, just like there's a lot of information about intuition out there. He believed that synchronicity is a principle that connects internal psychological events to external events through meaningful coincidences. What does that mean? You're thinking about a person, you meet that person. You're thinking about something in your heart, and suddenly something shows up that's an opportunity to walk in that realm. That's the unfolding of the story. Synchronicity presents an unfolding of a story within you that's uniquely you. Religion doesn't do that. Government doesn't do that. Technology doesn't do that. You can disagree with me, but technology, I don't give a crap what they say. It's going to kill creativity, because when you turn over your whole intuitive resolve to something else creating from you, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. It's very simple. Okay, so this intuitive synchronicity and intuition works and flows through humanity in your divinity beyond conscious reasoning. So do not become so earthly minded that you know heavenly good. I think that was a saying that was given to me years ago. So I'm aware that I've been all over the place in this video. But rather than waiting to start and stop at a certain place, I gave myself the freedom to just launch out. So take what you need from this and leave the rest. I have nothing to prove and I have nothing to lose. So in the coming days, I'm going to give you some of the thoughts from Greg Braden's book, Pure Human. And they're going to be shorter videos. We're going to talk about it. So let me know what you think. Grace me. It's early. I hope you enjoyed this, because the whole purpose of this channel is beyond a shadow of a doubt that I believe in people, and I believe you're brilliant, and nothing you can say or do will cause me to believe anything else. Y'all have a good day. I love y'all.